Oh, ladies and gentlemen, they call me Eduardo. God. Anytime I hear news about Burkina Faso, I am always marvel and I am always happy. Yes, I just got an information that North Korea president has sent 700 commandos, 700 troops to Burkina Faso. They are not there for peacekeeping. They are there to protect Ibrahim Traore. Now, you see, anything when God put hand, they let us spoil. See, everything about that Burkina Faso is what I support. Some people are criticizing me already that you are a Nigerian. Why are you not talking about Nigeria? Me, I know they talk bad things. I always talk about good things. That is why Burkina Faso is another country I belong to. Burkina Faso is an Africa country. So I am a dual citizen in Africa, Nigeria and Burkina Faso. So if they pay you, go hit your head somewhere. Share this video. Make sure you share it. Let people see what God is doing in Burkina Faso.
North Korean commandos have just landed in Burkina Faso, and they're not there for peacekeeping. They are here for Traore. But why would one of the world's most secretive regimes risk everything to protect an African president? And why now? Let's find out. A continent where international military involvement usually comes stamped with NATO or French insignia, the image of North Korean boots hitting African ground was nothing short of surreal. And yet, that's exactly what happened. The government of Burkina Faso has confirmed the arrival of 700 elite North Korean commandos on its territory. Deployed in full gear, these forces didn't come as observers, advisors, or humanitarian staff. They arrived as active military personnel, embedded in a security operation to protect President Ibrahim Traore, reinforce his grip on power, and stabilize the state after a chain of failed coup assassination attempts. The world has grown used to Russian involvement in African affairs, especially since Russia's Wagner-linked troops started replacing French forces in countries like Mali and the Central African Republic. But North Korea? That was new, that was historic, and it wasn't a leak or a secret. North Korea didn't deny it. State-aligned media from both Burkina Faso and Pyongyang confirmed the deployment. According to government officials, the mission is threefold: protect Traore and key members of the transitional government from internal and external threats, secure critical infrastructure, including military bases, airports, government buildings, gold refineries, and strategic communication hubs, train local security forces in the kind of tactics that North Korea has mastered over decades, from guerrilla warfare and close-quarter protection to surveillance, infiltration detection, and coup prevention. And this wasn't improvised. The arrival of the North Korean units was highly coordinated, following weeks of quiet diplomatic and military exchanges. Reports suggest that joint security simulations had already been run, infrastructure was prepared in advance, and key Burkinabe officials were briefed long before the public ever knew. This wasn't a reaction. It was a plan. But what triggered the activation of that plan? Behind closed doors, military insiders in Ouagadougou point to the rapid escalation of threats against Traore. In the past 6 months alone, Burkina Faso's intelligence services, with Russian assistance, uncovered 2 major coup plots, intercepted encrypted communications between foreign agents and rogue officers, and thwarted an armed attempt to seize a regional command post. The message was clear: someone powerful wants Traore gone, and each failure to remove him made the next attempt more aggressive. After the last plot unraveled, Burkina Faso quietly reached out to its newer allies for help. Russia was already present and involved, but the country needed a second layer of protection. One that could operate in the shadows, train elite guard units, and handle situations where traditional diplomacy failed. That's when North Korea stepped in. More videos on Black culture, history, civilization, and identity. Let's continue now. Pyongyang reportedly offered not only troops but a full security package: encrypted communication systems, counter-surveillance tools, and field-tested doctrines designed to protect leaders under siege. While most of the world continues to view North Korea through the lens of missile tests and nuclear standoffs, the regime also possesses one of the most hardened internal security architectures on the planet. And now, parts of that architecture are being installed in Burkina Faso. The commandos are said to be stationed in undisclosed zones near the capital and the north of the country, regions most vulnerable to both insurgent attacks and internal destabilization efforts. They are believed to be working closely with Burkina Faso's Presidential Guard, integrating their techniques with local knowledge and training high-trust units to handle rapid response, loyalty vetting, and facility lockdowns. The implications are staggering. This marks the first known deployment of North Korean troops on African soil in such a direct combat support role in decades, and it comes at a time when the traditional Western security apparatus is being forcefully ejected from the region. France has already been told to pack up. The U.S. military presence is shrinking. ECOWAS, once considered the guardian of West African order, is no longer trusted by its member states. Into that vacuum walk the Russians, and now the North Koreans. Unlike Western nations that operate with loud press briefings and flashy banners of democracy and development, North Korea came in silent, swift, and unapologetic. And perhaps that's why they were welcomed. There were no NGOs, no lectures, no transition plans, just soldiers, loyalty, and the tools to stop a bullet before it's fired. But this move raises more than eyebrows. It raises deeper questions. Why would a state as isolated as North Korea risk international scrutiny to back a transitional regime in Africa? What does Pyongyang hope to gain from this? And how does this fit into the larger picture of Africa turning its back on the West? When North Korean boots hit the ground in Burkina Faso, the first question was obvious. Why? Why would one of the most secretive, isolated, and heavily sanctioned regimes in the world send 700 of its most elite commandos to protect a military leader in West Africa? It's not for headlines. North Korea doesn't care about Western media cycles. And it's not for peacekeeping, goodwill optics, or charity. The real answer is far more calculated and far more dangerous. This is a move about opportunity, survival, and power projection. Let's start with what North Korea gains tactically. For decades, Pyongyang has been isolated from traditional battlegrounds. Its military strategy is built on theory, simulation, and national drills, not recent international combat experience. But Burkina Faso gives them something rare, a live conflict zone outside Asia, where the battlefield is unpredictable. Insurgents move fast, coups are plotted in silence, and urban warfare merges with jungle terrain. In short, it's the perfect laboratory. By embedding elite forces in Burkina Faso, North Korea now has a testing ground for unconventional warfare tactics. Real-time data on how its surveillance systems and special operations protocols perform under pressure. A field environment to train in asymmetric combat, especially relevant for defending state leaders under siege. But this deployment isn't just about technical training, it's about ideological alignment. Pyongyang sees in Traoré a figure who embodies the exact posture North Korea values: anti-imperialist, militarily self-reliant, and resistant to Western control. Traoré isn't begging the IMF. He's not attending democracy summits in Brussels. He's not handing his country's intelligence to Washington or Paris. He's expelling foreign troops, standing up to ECOWAS, and refusing to be a proxy for Western interests. And that kind of leader is rare in today's global South, which makes him exactly the kind of person North Korea wants to invest in. For Kim Jong-un's regime, supporting Traoré is about sending a message. We stand with those who stand alone. It's an ideological alliance, but it's also strategic. Because as the West loses ground in Africa, Pyongyang sees the chance to establish long-term influence in a region it was once excluded from. And influence means leverage. It means trade. It means access to Africa's vast resource networks, especially in gold, uranium, rare earth minerals, and agricultural trade. Diplomatic cables suggest Burkina Faso and North Korea have already held private talks on barter-based weapons and technology exchanges, bypassing the SWIFT system and international banking controls. In other words, both countries are building a new pipeline, one that doesn't flow through Washington, Brussels, or the World Bank. This also fits perfectly into North Korea's evolving foreign policy strategy, what analysts now call its Southern Opening Doctrine. In short, Pyongyang knows that trying to break through Western alliances in Asia is a dead end. But Africa is where the colonial order is collapsing in real time, and that makes it fertile ground for building a new global footprint. Burkina Faso is the start, but not the end. Consider this. In 2023, North Korea quietly resumed diplomatic relations with Guinea-Bissau and the Central African Republic. its state media has praised Mali and Niger for rejecting foreign interference, and its UN diplomats meeting with non-aligned African blocs, offering low-cost security systems and mutual defense cooperation frameworks. So when 700 troops showed up in Ouagadougou, it wasn't random. It was part of a larger multi-phase plan to insert North Korea into Africa's future by supporting the regimes that refuse to kneel. And in return, Pyongyang is harvesting something it values even more than raw materials: legitimacy. Every time an African government salutes a North Korean soldier, it chips away at the narrative that Pyongyang is globally isolated. Every time North Korean trainers are thanked by foreign generals, it sends a signal to other unaligned nations: you don't need the West to survive or to win. This is soft power through hard boots. But perhaps the biggest gain for North Korea is untouchable space. Burkina Faso, having broken ties with France and ECOWAS, is now a kind of free zone, a territory where Pyongyang can operate military units without foreign surveillance, US drones, or Western sanctions enforcement. In a world where American satellites monitor every corner of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, Burkina Faso offers shadows, places where drills can run, information can be shared, and tactics can evolve, all without Washington's eyes watching. And in return, Traoré gets something just as valuable: survival. He now has a second layer of protection. If anyone wants to take him out, they no longer face just a young captain from Burkina Faso. They face an alliance, one that doesn't blink, doesn't apologize, and doesn't need a vote at the UN to take action. So yes, North Korea sent its commandos into a continent where it's barely had a footprint in decades. But this wasn't a leap of faith. It was a strategic insertion into the one region where global power is no longer settled, and where the battle for control is just beginning. But when North